Hey guys, welcome back to Trek on the Tube. The first Short Treks episode, Runaway, has aired in the US and Canada, and as promised, here is my review and Easter eggs video. Now this goes without saying, but just in case, this video will contain heavy spoilers. I usually don't mention it, and I probably won't again in the future, but considering this hasn't yet been released internationally, I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. If you're new to the channel, first of all, welcome, and usually what I do with my review videos is first talk about my thoughts and opinions, and then talk about all the Easter eggs and references I can find. Sometimes I do miss a few, it's no big deal. You can always point out the Easter eggs I missed in the comment section below. Now, it's been a few weeks since the episode was first released, so I've had time to check out what others in the community think, and it's, for the most part, pretty consistent. The general consensus is that it's a somewhat weak episode with a few high points that, sadly, aren't exactly enough to redeem it. And I gotta say, I do agree, even if I feel like my opinion is slightly more extreme, because I really do have trouble finding those high points. Okay, so Runaway. At a runtime of about 15 minutes, this is the first episode in an innovative and groundbreaking new format. Something that could only exist in the modern era, the era of streaming services and video on demand. Now that, in itself, is amazing. But like many things that are new, like many things that push the boundaries of what we already know, this first is far from perfect. It's actually kind of bad. I mean, you would think that such a small runtime would enable one to create a tight and focused story, a self-contained adventure sufficient to itself, but Runaway suffers the same flaws as most of Discovery. The story wants to be too much and yet provides so little. Ultimately, all it ends up doing is creating multiple plot holes, both within itself and the greater Star Trek story. And then it ends with what can only be described as a mistake. Putting aside the smaller things like the fact the computer didn't detect and report the alien presence, the fact they never showed Tilly's mother's face for fear of confirming an actor they might not want in the long run, which is just sad, the fact that Tilly is a terrible Starfleet officer for touching the unknown substance before scanning it, putting all that aside, most of the other things that happened are illogical, hard to believe, or just straight up dumb. Poe, the alien, is first presented to us as a kind of wild animal, acting more on instinct than anything else, growling, showing her teeth, directing spikes on her back, but when Tilly activates the Universal Translator, which doesn't seem to be installed in the ship's computer for some reason, within 30 seconds the alien goes from wild to tame. Not even tame, in fact, she goes from alien to human. Her mannerisms change, her personality changes, and it's just not believable. And then she talks about how important she is, because she's developed a way to recrystallize dilithium, which ultimately doesn't lead to anything because the Federation has to develop that technology by itself 30 years later anyway. Speaking of technology, we get to see more of their holo communications, which are still out of place and seem to be even more broken every time they're on screen. I mean, until now, every holo communication we've seen has been of a single person being projected into another room. You see someone on the bridge, you see someone in someone's quarters, you cannot see what's surrounding them. And yet this time, Tilly's mother is able to see Tilly's desk and make a comment about it. It's not a big deal, I get it, but it's an example that underlines a greater problem with the team behind Discovery and this. There's no consistency in the way the technology is portrayed on screen. It's almost like the writers and the producers don't communicate with each other, and everything featured on screen is up to interpretation. It's ridiculous. But not as ridiculous as the moment we learn Poe is a fugitive running from the Federation authorities and Tilly decides to hide her instead of turning her in. Look, I understand the need, the want to make a story about these two brave adolescents / young adults going up against the powers that be and proving themselves. But did they really have to make Tilly commit treason? She didn't just disobey an order, she went up against Federation law. This is a court-martial offense. Frankly, she shouldn't even be in Starfleet anymore when Season 2 of Discovery picks up. Or at least she should be dealing with the consequences of her actions. Discovery and Short Treks want to create strong female role models, and that's great. It really is, but please do it right. Because right now, L'Rell is a terrorist, Burnham disobeys every single order she's given, Landry was dumb, so dumb it got her killed, and now even Tilly is a criminal. I'm a father now, I have a daughter, and none of these characters are empowered in a way I find honorable enough to be positive role models. And now, without any transition whatsoever, let's talk about that final scene. The one I already described as a mistake. Tilly beams Poe. To where exactly? They're clearly not in orbit of Poe's planet, and Poe snuck onto the ship in a cargo container, so it's not like she has a shuttle waiting for her. And even if she did, it would be detected, which brings up other questions. Why was there no one on duty in the transporter room? And why was the transport not detected? Can anyone just beam anyone anywhere at any given time on the USS Discovery? Again, it just kind of feels like this kind of detail doesn't matter anymore. But I truly do believe that common sense and logic still has its place in storytelling. Now don't get me wrong, when it comes to production value, everything is just fine. The CG is great, so are the props, the sets, the makeup, the music. It's all Discovery quality. It's great, honestly. I mean, the episode opens with this magnificent beauty shot of the ship before slowly swooping down to the cargo bay. And once we enter the cargo bay, everything from the uniforms to the crates are believable and of high quality. What blows me away is the insane attention to visual detail in these certain specific moments. For example, from the exterior, you can clearly see a shuttle departing and a worker bee moving further in, and that action is continued seamlessly as we cut to the interior shot. So mad props to the CG teams. You can tell they're really invested in their work. And I will say this, I do like the new race, the Zahians. I like how, they evolved on their own planet at the same time as their planet. I like how they grow from a larval state, how they can disappear at will. It's a very interesting race, and visually, they were nice. It's the story that's bad. Even if the sentiment behind it is admirable, it's just bad. Okay, I think that's about it for the review side of things. Let's move on to the Easter eggs and references I could spot. The cargo bay goes through a decontamination process which we've never really seen before in cargo bays, but considering the cargo wasn't beamed in, it probably is standard procedure. And I think it's fair to assume it remains standard procedure for quite a while, even if we, the audience, never see it again. Tilly uses a dermal regenerator, a common medical tool in Star Trek. Interesting to note they always have different designs, even if they have the same use, almost like our modern day smartphones. Tilly is an ensign. She's no longer a cadet, so promotion. On her desk we can see a picture of her and Burnham, as well as the medal she was awarded at the end of Discovery Season 1. Finally, Poe gives Tilly a small blue dilithium crystal. Dilithium has traditionally been pinkish in the past, so I'm not quite sure as to why this crystal is blue, aside from the fact everything relating to Discovery is always blue. It could be that the coloration varies from planet to planet, I don't know. We could actually use this to explain why the Zahians kept the recrystallization technique to themselves. Maybe it didn't work on pink dilithium. Or maybe blue dilithium is just some sort of cheap knockoff. Okay, what did you guys think of the episode? Did you see it? Were you able to see it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? I don't know. Maybe I was a little harsh, but I really didn't like it, and I really think that they can step up their game. Fingers crossed the next short treks will be much better. As usual, thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, share, tell everyone that I exist, and most of all, live long and prosper.